Let's be honest with each other. There is a moment familiar to every man who has crossed a certain threshold in life. It's that treacherous feeling when the mind is full of fire and fantasies, when the desire to possess a woman still burns brightly, but the body suddenly whispers, "Easy there, buddy." This is not weakness, this is biological reality. And the biggest mistake men make at this age is trying to play by the rules of 20-year-old sprinters. They burn themselves out in the first 10 minutes, trying to prove that the gunpowder is still dry, and then they lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling their heart pound somewhere in their throat, and pleasure replaced by shameful fatigue. But endurance is not a question of how many push-ups you can do. It's a question of strategy. It's intelligence translated into the language of the body. Today, we won't talk about building muscles or taking dubious supplements. We will take a different path. We will explore 4 fundamental positions, 4 strategic scenarios that will allow you to make love for hours without losing your breath. We will transform your bedroom into a place where time stands still, and a woman's pleasure becomes endless. And I want to warn you right away, what we will discuss at the very end, the 4th strategy, is not just a pose. It is perhaps the most guarded secret of experienced lovers, a kind of holy grail for those who want to drive a woman wild while remaining absolutely calm and full of energy. This is a technique that changes the rules of the game, but to understand its essence, we need to go all the way from the beginning. If you are ready to stop rushing and start controlling the process like a true master, welcome. But before we dive into this philosophy of pleasure, I ask you to do one simple thing. Like this video. This is your signal to me that the topic of male strength and longevity is important to you. And if you feel that our content hits the mark, that it resonates with your life experience, you can become a channel sponsor. This will allow us to dig even deeper and create material you won't find anywhere else. The link and all details are always available. And by the way, before we begin, write in the comments which city you are from. I am always interested to see the geography of our brotherhood. Right, and we begin. First strategy, the architecture of control. We will start with the basics, with what many mistakenly call a resting position, though in reality it's a position for total control. In classical sexology, it is called the spooning position or side position. But let's look at it deeper, through the prism of psychology. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, often spoke of the conflict between the pleasure principle, which demands everything at once, and the reality principle, which forces us to acknowledge the limitations of the external world. So, this pose is an ideal compromise between these two forces. It allows you to experience maximum pleasure, completely ignoring the physical limitations of fatigue or age. It is the pose of a wise man who understands that unnecessary movements are the enemy of true pleasure. Imagine this geometry. Your woman lies on her side, right or left, it doesn't matter. You position yourself behind her, mimicking the curve of her body. She slightly bends her knees, perhaps even pulling them closer to her chest, creating an ideal angle for entry. And this is where the magic begins, inaccessible to the young and impatient. In this position, the load is completely removed from your body. You don't need to support your weight with your arms, strain your back, or balance on your knees. Your pulse remains steady, your breathing deep and calm. You become a metronome that sets the rhythm without expending energy unnecessarily. It's a state close to meditation, where every movement is conscious. But the most important thing here is access. When you are behind her, your hands are completely free, and this is your main tool. You can embrace her shoulders, creating a feeling of security that is so important for a woman's relaxation. You can slide your hand along her thigh, feeling every curve. But even more importantly, you have direct access to her most sensitive zone. While you perform smooth, measured thrusts, your hand can move lower and stimulate her clitoris. This creates a dual stream of sensations, causing most women to lose touch with reality. You are not just performing mechanical actions, you are playing on her body like a complex instrument. And since you are not expending energy supporting your own weight, you can continue this indefinitely. There is an important nuance here that is often overlooked. In this position, the angle of penetration can be changed by mere millimeters, simply by adjusting the position of her thigh. If she lifts her upper leg slightly higher, you will feel how the depth and density of contact change. This allows you to search for those exact points that elicit the most vivid response from her without altering your relaxed pose. Yes, in this position, she may not always be able to actively move towards you, thrusting at a pace you might be accustomed to in other situations. But this is where the hidden advantage lies. When a woman is deprived of the ability to lead, she is forced to focus on her internal sensations, on her fantasies. She becomes deeply immersed in herself, and believe me, this often leads her to much more powerful and profound orgasms than active gymnastics. This position is ideal for starting any marathon. It allows you to tune into each other, synchronize your breathing, and set the stage for more intense actions. But remember, this is just the beginning. This is the foundation. Because when you feel ready to add fire and awaken ancient instincts within you, we will have to change the scenery. And the next strategy we will explore will require not just calmness from you, but the ability to use improvised tools to achieve maximum effect. But we will talk about that right now. Second strategy, the Primal Call. Now we move on to what awakens the archetype of the hunter in a man. But we will do it smartly, with an eye on experience and strategy. Many men over 40 avoid the kneeling elbow position, or as it's commonly known, doggy style, because it demands physical stamina. Supporting your weight on your hands, working your back, controlling the rhythm, this is energy intensive. But if we change the geometry of the space, this pose transforms into a powerful instrument of dominance that won't cost you a drop of unnecessary sweat. What do we need for the modification? We need to change the point of support. Forget the standard approach in the middle of the bed, where the mattress springs and absorbs your energy. We need stability. The ideal option is to move the action to the edge of the bed or use the floor, having prepared a staging area beforehand. Take something soft, a sofa cushion, a blanket folded several times, or a thick throw. This isn't about comfort, it's about protecting your joints. We must protect our knees so that arthritis doesn't become the unwelcome third party in your bedroom prematurely. The scenario looks like this. You lead the woman to the edge or lay her face down on the prepared soft elevation on the floor. Her pelvis is raised, her chest and shoulders have firm support. You position yourself behind her, resting your knees on the soft surface. At this moment, something amazing happens. You see her entirely. The visual stimulation in this position is colossal, and this is where that ancient instinct, spoken of by analysts of the human soul, awakens. You see her vulnerability and openness, and it's more intoxicating than any alcohol. But your task here is not to lose your head, but to use this arousal as fuel. In this variation, your hands are free from supporting your body weight. You can place them on her hips, stabilizing her position, or slide them along her back, reminding her of your presence. But the most interesting thing here is the variability of sensations that you can control with a simple movement of her legs. And this is something few people think about. If a woman spreads her knees wide, access will be maximally open, but the contact of the walls will be less dense. This is an ideal mode for a long, measured game when you need to catch your breath but don't want to stop. You can move deeply, but without excessive friction that provokes a quick finish. However, if you feel you need more control, ask her to bring her legs together. Let her close her knees or even cross them if her flexibility allows. At this moment, the anatomy changes. The embrace becomes tight, almost like a vice. For her, it's an explosion of sensations because your every movement is felt more acutely. For you, it's a risk zone because the stimulation increases manifold. But an experienced man uses this alternation like a gear shifter. Feel like you're approaching the edge? Ask her to spread her legs, slow down, switch to wide, smooth movements. Feel ready for a sprint? Bring her knees together and add intensity. You are driving this machine. It's not driving you into a ditch. And one more nuance of this strategy. Here you can perfectly adjust the depth. It's not necessary to aim for the quote one every time. By working at the entrance, in the first third, you stimulate a huge number of nerve endings without overloading your own system. This is a game on the edge where you tease and then give her full saturation. And while you are engaged in this process, we smoothly approach the moment when the initiative can, and even should, be handed over to the woman so you can enjoy the spectacle yourself. For this, we will need the third strategy. Third strategy, the throne of pleasure. We are approaching the middle of our marathon. By this point, if you have followed the plan, you are already warmed up. The woman is in a state of high arousal, but physical strength is not infinite. It is time for the position I call _2_. This is a variation on the cowgirl theme, but with one critical difference. Here, we completely eliminate the factor of your physical exertion, leaving you the role of observer and tactile creator. However, this pose requires a certain degree of flexibility, so if your knees or hip joints are complaining, be careful and use pillows for support. The essence of the method is simple yet brilliant. You sit on your heels. Yes, exactly like that, in a pose reminiscent of a samurai's meditation. Your back is straight or slightly reclined if there is support behind you in the form of a sofa back or pillows. Your partner sits on top of you, facing you, and leans back, supporting herself with her hands behind her back on your legs or on the bed. Her back forms an arc, her chest is raised, and her pelvis is pressed firmly against yours. In this geometry, you become a rock for her, an unshakable foundation around which the ocean of her passion rages. Why does this work for endurance? Because you are static here. You practically don't need to move. All the mechanics of the process fall to her. She sets the rhythm, she chooses the depth, she finds the angle she needs right now. Your task is to subtly assist her, giving impulses with your pelvis, thrusting in rhythm, but no more than that. This allows you to completely relax large muscle groups and focus on contemplation. You see her face, her reaction, her pleasure. Psychologists call this quote 3, when your arousal is fueled not by mechanical friction, but by the emotional response of your partner. But there is also a hidden technical aspect here that makes this pose legendary. Due to the angle of her body and the intimate contact, your male anatomy naturally exerts pressure on the anterior wall of her vagina. It is there that the zones are located, the G-spot and paraurethral glands, which are responsible for the most powerful deep female climaxes. In this position, with the right rhythm, the likelihood of a woman experiencing squirting increases manifold. The pressure is constant, the angle is ideal, and her own movements allow her to find that point of no return. If this happens, be prepared. This is a moment of triumph, but also a moment requiring practicality. Keep a waterproof pad or towel nearby, so you don't turn the bed of love into a swimming pool. But most importantly, it's the effect that such a climax has on a man. To see a woman lose control, to see her body convulse with pleasure that you have given her, simply by being a quote 4, this elevates your self-esteem to the skies. And yet, notice, you have saved 80% of your energy. You are still full of strength. You are still in the game. And now that she has had her fill, and you have preserved your resources, it is time for the final act. That quote 5 I spoke of at the beginning. That very secret that turns a good lover into an unforgettable one. Fourth strategy, the Alchemist Seal. We have reached the finale, the very secret technique that many intuitively discover over the years, but we will break it down here and now. This is a pose that looks deceptively simple, but holds the potential of a nuclear reactor. I am talking about the prone position, but with one crucial modification that changes everything. Without it, it's just sex. With it, it's the art of managing time and pleasure. In this pose, the comfort of spooning, the visual aesthetic of doggy style, and the intimacy of contact merge into one. So, your woman lies on her stomach. But, and this is where you should grab a pen and write this down, You take a large bath towel, roll it into a dense, firm bolster, and place it under her lower abdomen, in the area of her pelvic bones. This action changes the architecture of her body. Her pelvis is raised, creating an ideal tilt. Her lower back naturally arches, without tension. She can rest her head on her hands, turn it to the side, close her eyes, and simply breathe. For her, it's a pose of total relaxation and trust. She doesn't see you, she only feels. You position yourself on top, and here you have a choice of how to distribute the load. If you feel strong, you can lean on straight arms or elbows, hovering over her like a canopy. But if you want to prolong the act indefinitely, you can lie on her with your whole body, shifting your weight to your elbows so as not to press too hard. This skin-to-skin contact across the entire body creates an incredible sense of intimacy. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, skyrockets at this moment. You literally become one whole being. Why is the bolster under the abdomen so important? It changes the angle of entry. Your penetration becomes not just deep, it becomes anatomically precise. You stimulate the posterior and anterior walls simultaneously with surgical accuracy. But most importantly, in this position, the woman has free space between her pubic bone and the mattress. And she can use this space. Her hands are free. She can bring a hand underneath her and stimulate her clitoris in rhythm with your movements. This creates a closed loop of pleasure. Your penetration, her stimulation, your heavy breathing in her ear, the weight of your body grounding her. For you, this pose is the pinnacle of control. If you are tired, you simply lie closer and slow down the rhythm, transitioning to micro movements of the pelvis. If you want to speed up, you raise yourself on your arms and add amplitude. Your legs can lie next to hers, not spreading them, which will create a very tight, dense entry for those who like it snug. Or you can spread her legs with your knees to go for maximum depth. You are the conductor of this orchestra. In this position, it is almost impossible to lose rhythm or burn out prematurely because the level of physical tension is minimal and the level of control is maximal. It is here, at this point, that a man often finds his best finale. When you feel that there is no longer a need to hold back, when you see her body trembling beneath you, you can release the brakes. Gravity, friction, intimacy, everything works for you. This is not just a release. It's the feeling of a mission accomplished. You have run this marathon. You have used intellect, strategy, and knowledge of psychology to give both her and yourself a night she will remember with a blush on her cheeks. The strategy of victory. Endurance is not a gift from the gods, nor the result of eating oysters. It is, as we have seen today, the result of the right mindset. At 40, 50, 60, a man does not become weaker, he becomes more dangerous because he stops rushing. He begins to understand that true strength lies in the ability to adapt the situation to himself. We have examined 4 tools, 4 keys, from the relaxed quote 10 of the first pose to the total control of the quote 11 at the end. Now these keys are in your pocket, and I want to ask you a question worthy of your experience. Each of us has our own little tricks, our own developments that only come with age. What advice would you give your younger self if you could go back in time? What major mistake in bed would you correct? Write about it in the comments. Let's gather a real encyclopedia of male wisdom there, uncensored and unashamed. And remember, if this conversation was useful to you, if you appreciate such a mature and honest approach, the best thanks for me is your subscription. And for those who want to support the channel indeed, the sponsorship button is always open. Don't be passengers in your own life. Take the wheel in your hands. Good luck, gentlemen.